지구는 아직까지 알려진 바로는 생명을 품은 유일한 행성입니다. 적어도 가까운 미래에 우리 종이 이주할 수 있는 곳은 없습니다. 우리가 아는 유일한 보금자리인 창백한 푸른점을 소중히 보존하는 것이 우리의 의무죠. 현재 인류가 만든 물체 중 최초로 태양계 밖으로 나간 보이저 탐사선이 멀리서 찍은 지구는 창백한 푸른점에 불과합니다. 과학의 대중화를 이끈 미국의 천문학자 세이건은 전 세계에서 1000만 부 이상 팔린 베스트셀러 코스모스'의 저자이기도 합니다. 미국 나사의 반대를 설득하고 보이저호가 창백한 푸른점 사진을 찍게 하는데도 기여했죠. 보이저 프로젝트에서 세이건을 처음 만난 그의 아내 앤드류안은 TV 시리즈 코스모스 프로듀서로 일생을 세이건과 함께 걸었습니다. 오늘날까지 그녀는 우주 앞의 겸손과 지구의 소중함에 대해 일깨우고 있습니다. 날리지스트리밍을 통해 앤드류안이 2021년 한국인들에게 우주에 관해 전하는 메시지가 바로 공개됩니다.
What they all have in common, and what Carl Sagan and I set out to do in the late 1970s, was to share the great insights and revelations about nature that science makes possible, and then to empower the largest possible global audience with that knowledge. We believed, and I still believe 40-something years later, that it is the cosmic perspective that will give those of us on Earth the foresight and the values that are necessary to preserve our civilization. We are at a moment where our civilization threatens to destroy itself. And that, in part, is a failure of education. Science is envisioning a universe that's 13.8 billion years old, and a precious continuity of life on Earth that's 4 billion years old. I believe that if each of us felt that we were the momentary links in that great chain of life, and that this was our only home, our nest, we would protect it, we would keep it clean, we would make it safe for the next links in the chain. So all 3 cosmos seasons have been inspired by the power that science gives us to save ourselves. What is different about them? I think, having been so fortunate to have been present at the creation of the original series, and regarding myself in many ways as a keeper of the flame that Carl Sagan ignited in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, that my honor is to keep that flame burning, to ignite the spark of curiosity in future generations, and to keep alive those values of respect for this ancient continuity of life, and for the way that science has enabled us to outgrow our infantile delusions of centrality in the universe. You know, it's only with science that we could wean ourselves of this need to be the only children of the creator of the whole universe. Well, clearly we're very young, we're very new to the universe. Our own tenure as humans is really barely 1 million years, not even 1 million years. And so I think that's why I see science as such a hope for humanity. Well, I'm of 2 minds. I think we should send our robots everywhere. I have no ambivalence about that. I think as long as we obey certain protocols of planetary protection, meaning these new worlds and our own, I think we should travel to as many of these worlds and explore as fully as possible. And this is important because of what it will tell us about our own world and how to care for it, but also the amazing number of spin-off byproducts that are not intended, but are the benefits of doing such exploration. So I am unabashedly for robotic exploration and for finding out as much as we possibly can about the multitude of other worlds in the cosmos. But I'm not sure about human space travel, and may I explain why? One is that it's very perilous, it's very dangerous, and we know very little at this time of the cost to human beings of long space flight, long duration space flight, and what it does to us. But not only that, I feel that we should not be allowed out until we put our own home in order. I feel that that's the least that should be expected. The entry-level cost of leaving your own planet is that you've got to feel that it's being well taken care of, and that its future is hopeful. And because of where we live in time on this planet, if we were not lofting such vast quantities of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, we could count on a beautiful climate for the next 50,000 years. We're living at a beautiful moment in Earth history when there's a real lull in the kind of climate catastrophes that are very common to our planet. I think the most important thing is, first of all, to support primary education and the education of the very young to stimulate, to excite. Second, I think it's most important to have a vibrant scientific community, which is also supported, in which not only a scientific community that does not exclude any kind of person, as long as they're willing to play by the rules of science, by the method of science, everyone must be welcomed. Every child must be looked at, not simply in terms of how they perform on tests, but their ability to think creatively and to respond to the beauty of nature. So those are very important. That's a foundational thing that's very important. Then I think there has to be a very vibrant relationship between the scientific community and the government, and industry too, but a sense in which there's a cross-pollination, there's an open, an atmosphere of openness to new ideas, and a kind of a looking to the scientific community, not just one science advisor, but a large number of scientists from all fields of what the opportunities for discovery are. That's very important. And then I think the cosmic perspective that reminds each and every one of us that we are riding on a tiny pale blue dot. It's the cross-pollination, the openness to new ideas that makes a country successful scientifically, and that's true for space exploration as well. I think collaborations with industry obviously are good, but I worry about the opportunity for essentially forms of bribery in one way or another. As long as the profit motive is in the driver's seat, then we won't be thinking in terms of what the Earth will be like 100 years from now, let alone 500 years from now. That's our challenge, is to be able to take the long view and to have a balance of these different forces, not one dominating over the other. I think it's that balance of power that is really, it's an exquisitely delicate thing that makes it possible for great civilizations to do astonishing things. A great nation such as South Korea, which I haven't been in a while, but when I have visited South Korea, I felt like I was stepping into a great future. Driving into Seoul from the airport, that feeling of the beauty and the immaculateness and the excitement of your just magnificent country. I think that you could be play such an important role in robotic space exploration. And not to say that it has to be a nationalistic endeavor. It should be cooperative with other nations, with other scientists. But there's so much robotic exploration that can be done. Go to Enceladus and look for life. That can be done robotically and without any risk of life. And yet it can be the source of a completely epical, and I mean, an age-making discovery of such power. There are so many missions that are crying out to be done. And there should be no competition. This should be totally cooperative endeavor for the entire planet. But I would say that, it's possible for you to really distinguish because of your tremendous technical accomplishments and your understanding of engineering and space science. It's so possible for you to do great things in this area, and I'm looking forward to hearing about them. Well, I think South Korea is, an inspiration in many different ways to the rest of the world. And, I would love to see the ethos, when I have been to South Korea, I have been overwhelmed by, and this was, years ago, and before this most recent Cosmos or the second Cosmos, I have been overwhelmed by the great kindness and hospitality, as well as how clean and beautiful your cities are, how this sense of citizenship that the people have in terms of, I'm not going to spoil this or ruin this or litter because I'm part of something that's bigger than me. It's not just my selfishness that matters. This is what the world needs right now, is that value, that sense of citizenship that is not about nationalism, but about being a citizen of the earth. If you're a citizen of the earth, your timescale is much longer than if you're a citizen of one particular country, because even the oldest existing surviving countries on earth are 4,500 years old, 5,000 years old. I cannot speak on the wisdom or lack thereof of Korea's budget. I do know many people here during the greatest achievements of the American, exploration of space, even during Apollo and Voyager and the Mars exploration, people, naturally would say, why are you spending all this money on space exploration when there's so much poverty here and there's so many bad things here? And it's a reasonable question. It's not a bad question. Now, the NASA budget was even less a percentage of the budget than the space science budget that you're talking about. I think it was 0.2% sometimes during when this question was asked most frequently. And it was rarely asked of the defense budget, which was, forgive me the pun, but astronomical, and always has been. And so my view is I don't want to see any food taken out of the mouths of hungry people for any reason. I really don't. Again, I do have that feeling of like, put your house in order before you go to another world, before you get to travel to another world. But I have to say that the money for scientific research has been this was true in the 1990s. I don't know if it's still true, but the multiplier effect of the value of that money in terms of, the gifts that it brings back to the society is remarkable. It's manyfold. It's many times. And of course, if you look at Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell, doing pure scientific research, but resulting in the Maxwell equations, which are why you and I are able to communicate with each other at the speed of light, and to do this halfway around the planet without any difficulty. You don't know where the research will lead. You don't know the great wealth that the research will actually bring back.